Hello everyone and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Adz. If you want 15% off your surfing and outdoor gear, look no further. Go to Northcore on the internet and use the code, capital letters, Grumpy Surf with an extra capital F on the end of surf to receive 15% off your purchase. Welcome back to part 2 of the podcast with British surf icon Ben Skinner. In this episode, we talk about the Skinner family, Ben's son Lucas, and the British Longboard Union and WSL tours. So please enjoy part 2 of my conversation with Ben Skinner. Mate, I know you touched on it a little bit before. Let's talk a little bit about your family and, why you're doing all of this. You talk a little bit about your dad, because your dad was the one who put you into surfing, but he also started his own brewery, didn't he?
Yeah. Mum and dad started the brewery. I mean, when I grew up in a pub when I was from born till 8 years old, and mum and dad were like landlords of a pub for a brewery, and so we lived above that. And then when I was 8 years old, they started their own micro brew pub in Jersey, in the Channel Islands, where I was born, and then they ended up with another one. And in the end, they decided they wanted to leave Jersey, so they looked at moving to Ireland. They looked at moving to, her sister was in New Zealand. They went to New Zealand to look there for a bit, all over the place. And we ended up in Cornwall, basically. They went and looked at France and Spain. And anyway, we ended up in Cornwall. And when we got here, Dad wasn't that sure what he was going to do. At the time, he was looking at surf shops and all sorts. And then, essentially his background, his business, it's all been, his mum and dad were hoteliers. So it was kind of in his blood, and went back to beer and started making beer. There's never been a brewery in Truro. And so Skinner's Brewery started 25 years ago, 6 years ago. Yeah. And I mean, look, it's rocky road for them right now. It's a real, obviously, normally a very, very flamboyant kind of business. But at the moment, with the current crisis and pubs being shut and everything, it's been pretty hard on the breweries. But what they've achieved in 25 years, and I think they have sponsored a lot of people, helped a lot of people, raised a lot of money, and are really part of the kind of community as well. So it's Dad's achieved a huge amount with the brewery, and I hope that he can keep it going through this tough time right now.
Yeah, there's a friend of mine that owns a pub brewery down in Exmouth called The Grapevine. And when the first lockdown happened, his pub is like right on the corner in the Exmouth Strand.
Yeah.
And they haven't got any outdoor space. So when they closed the pubs down, he was still producing beer, and they came up with this idea that they were going to sell boxed beer. So they started doing that, and that's just grown arms and legs for him.
Wow.
And then when they reopened the pubs again, where people could drink outside, he didn't have an outdoor area, and he had this mega thing with the council where, for some reason, Exmouth is like got a line drawn down it where it's East Devon Council and Devon District Council. So there's two separate councils that go straight down the middle. And then he got permission from one of them, but it was actually the other side to put like some chairs and stuff out front, and he got absolutely spanked. And it's just been like an ongoing thing with him. I feel really sorry for him because he's been like super entrepreneurial with what he's done.
He's trying to like make ends meet, I mean, it's been tough for a lot of people. I know that. And, breweries are one of those things. Dad has got bottle trade to supermarkets and does like boxed beers, direct drive-through. He's done a drive-through Skinner's stop as well. So you can do a drive-through collection. But you still, that pub trade, the cask trade, it's so big down here in Cornwall and Devon. I mean, anywhere around the whole country, pub trade is like, it's a living for people in it. People, it's somewhere where they go and hang out, and it's a social, and it's a lot of people are missing that pub vibe, and obviously the breweries are definitely financially going to miss that, and how the pubs are going to survive, I don't know. So it's pretty worrying times for them, but I know that when it comes back, it's gonna really boom, and Cornwall and Devon are gonna be like rushed off their feet. So it's just a matter of time, and hopefully we're going the right way, aren't we? I hope.
Yeah, 100%. I know he's making even a little bit, but still with what's going on at the moment, it's just dragging on and on and on. It's
And we get help, but a lot of the help you got to pay back at some point. So losing that amount of time in business is so almost irreparable for some people, especially when you're sort of in those. You've basically got periods of the year where you've got nothing at all, and 3 or 4 months of the year where where you're so seasonal basically, and so but I know that Cornwall, Devon this summer is going to be pretty nuts. And I know the end of last year was crazy, wasn't it? And a lot of people managed to catch up. So I think we live in a nice enough place that when it does get good, everything's going to flourish.
Let's talk a little bit about Lucas then. You touched on it before, kind of taking off in his on his dad's footsteps. And I saw an interview with you, and I think it was his first interview. They were like, "Are you going to be a longboarder?" And you just asked him, and he said, "Nah, I'm going to be a shortboarder," and that was it. And then I read an article saying, "No, he's never going to longboard. He's not. He's not going to do it. Let him do shortboard thing, and then if he wants to, when he's like 20, he can do that."
Yeah. Well, I said that. I mean, the other day he took my longboard out, and what he did was mental. So I'm sure, hopefully, when this comes out, there'll be a clip out there from the other day. But yeah, it's safe to say that he can definitely longboard, and he doesn't know really how yet. So it's kind of worrying. But he's Lucas he's a great kid. Mainly, he's a lovely kid, and he's just loves surfing. I mean, I feel so lucky to have him, in my life anyway. But the fact that he does everything I love, and the relationship that we have together, not just me, my partner Michelle, she surfs as well. My little girl Lila, she's surfing, and Levin is 5, and he's definitely going to, but he's just totally different to the others. Just doesn't want any help. Like when he wants to do it, he'll pick it up and do it. But yeah, the others are. It's great. It's become a family thing. I think that's what's so great about surfing too. But yeah, lucky enough that Lucas taken it on so much. He likes competing. He genuinely enjoys everything he's doing at the moment in surfing, and yeah, just stoked to be part of it. It's mad.
Explain a little bit about how he got entered into the Barton Lynch Blastoff competition, because he won the under-12s, didn't he? And I've seen some of the footage that was entered into that for him to be able to win that. Was that just something that happened and you didn't know about it, or did you actually enter him into it?
Well, what happened is obviously last year he had a pretty bad injury, so he ruptured his spleen while he was skateboarding. And it was a grade 4 laceration on his spleen. So it was pretty severe. And we ended up, I took him straight from Newquay Skate Park. I was there when it happened, drove him straight to Newquay Hospital. He got an ambulance from there to Treliske, and then they airlifted him from Treliske to Bristol with me as well. And it was, horrific. Just from absolute hero to zero, just from skating around complete normal to just one little slip, and he just hit the concrete so hard, and that was 4 months completely out for him. Horrendous time, scary moment as a parent. But he luckily the spleen stopped bleeding pretty much straight away, and they didn't have to remove it or anything. So he's still got his spleen. He's still in a good sort of position. But at the end of the day, he was on his back at home for 4 months. And 3 months really, and the last month he was going out for walks, but he wasn't strictly no exercise or anything that could potentially hit himself and his spleen. So no school, no nothing, and it was pretty harsh for him because it was the end of the summer, everyone's surfing. It was literally the end of August, so it was going in September, October, November. Surf was pumping every day. It was gnarly. So anything that kind of took Lucas's mind off it at the time was kind of good. So I saw this event come up, and in fact, his one of his friends is from Australia and used to do, because the Barton Lynch Blastoff it's an actual event. It normally happens in Australia, but because of what happened, they put it online. So his mate said, "I used to do this contest. You should enter it, Lucas." And Lucas showed it to me, and I said, "Well, yeah, if you want to do it, let's do it." So it's a couple of dollars to enter each clip or something. So we just entered it, and and I didn't think that he won that week. So the first week he won, like, they did, I think it was like 12 weeks or something, maybe 8 or 12 weeks. And they did like every week, everyone's entries, and then picked a winner from each category each week. And then at the end, they kind of did a winners thing. And so he won his week. That was amazing. And we kind of thought that was that. But then he ended up, you know, winning the under 12, which kind of blew me away, and him and his mum. We were all sat there. We had no idea, watching it live on the Instagram, you know. And it was just watching his face when he saw that he'd actually won it was just unbelievable. So seeing, you know, the fact that he was kind of doing that from on the couch at home, just gave him so much kind of lift. And, you know, he's had so much support and so many nice comments from so many people in the surfing industry since he's been injured and stuff, that have just kept him alive and kind of just feeling like he's still part of it. So it's been pretty amazing. So thanks to all those people, you know, because
yeah, I think that's absolutely amazing, especially because it's kind of like a junior version of the Vans Triple Crown that they ran, you know, where they did the upload thing. I think that could be something for the future, you know, especially to get people that are not necessarily in the public eye or in the media to get them out on a platform, because, you know, I mean, you must know loads and loads of kids, adults as well, that absolutely rip.
Exactly. I think it's a great point. And there's so many kids that need the opportunity, that don't have the opportunity to kind of do those sort of things. So having them inclusive and stuff is like, that's just what I loved about it. And seeing there was all age. They ended up having categories down to like under 8 or under 7. I can't even remember now, but it was because it was just under 14, but they had so much entries and so many different levels that they wanted to give everybody some recognition. And I just thought it was a great event all round. I mean, Barton's just a great character, isn't he? He's got so much froth, and he genuinely loves surfing. He loves the kids. So yeah, I thought it was amazing, and hopefully they do more. I believe there's one coming in March again. They were going to do one in March, so keep your eyes out, and kids, get involved. You know, just be part of it, because that's what it's about.
Yeah, I saw today, just scrolling through social media, in my 5 minutes I was going to look, and ended up being 3 hours, because that's what happens when you get absorbed into it. There was a Welsh surf club that were doing something very similar, where I think it was just a local one where the guys could just enter their things in. Like we were just saying there, it's something really cool for people to do. Talk a little bit about where his surfing has come from, because his ability and his technical part of his surfing is so tuned, a lot better than a lot of adults would ever be. Have you helped him trying to work on certain aspects of his surfing to get that good? And also, just to counter that as well a little bit, just talk a little bit about how you see rail and air surfing as well.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there's a combination of things really going on there. I think, you know, one, yes, I've definitely helped Lucas and guided him where I could along the way, and to an extent, and to a point now where he's doing full rotations in the air, and I can't coach that. I don't know. I don't know how to do that. So it's already at the point where, you know, he needs somebody who can do that to coach him through any of that. So yes, I've definitely guided him through some bits and pieces, and I think like one of the things like I like about Lucas in the water is how he moves around and looks, and you know, he reads the ocean really well. And that's something like when he was really little, I used to just have him on my leg basically, and he'd just hold onto my leg and I'd just paddle him around. If there was a set over there, we'd paddle over there and like turn and get it. And then like, oh, hang on a minute, get back on, we're going to go this way. And then we'd like paddle across and always like hunt for waves. And I think, you know, that's really, I can see that in him a lot kind of now. You know, he's always hunting and he always sort of looking for good waves, which obviously catching good waves, you know, you can surf good waves. It's really important. But really Lucas's kind of ability to, he understands like the motions that he's doing and his technique really well, like, you know, more than I've ever been able to break anything down. You know, he almost sees it in slow motion, and he used to do it when he was skateboarding, when he was like 5 or 6, and he starts doing rock fakies and clipping his truck and headbutting the floor, and I'm just going, oh please, and he's like, nah dad, I leant too far back, like all I got to do is just lean, and then he gets back up and he'll do it, and he knows why he didn't do it, and that is something that I didn't necessarily have. I definitely didn't have it, but he will do a full rotation, land and not make it, but he knows exactly why and where he went wrong. And you know, I think that's kind of quite a unique thing. I don't know. I definitely wasn't like it, but I can see that in him, why he improved so quickly, because, you know, he's so critical on himself, but more to the point, he understands his rotations and his body mechanics. So if he doesn't land something, it's because he didn't turn his head somewhere. And it's like he understands why, and he can change it, and then he lands it. And so, yeah, it's pretty amazing to watch. But that's kind of what I see with him, really. And as much as I've taken him to one point, I can't really, you know, now it's like, right, I'll always help him on the rail game, and we work very hard on that, because as far as like, it's very easy just to huck airs everywhere and kind of lose the flow of surfing. And a lot of the board designs that we have worked on when he was younger were very turn orientated and rounded pintails, and so that everything is nice and drawn out and lots of flow. So we've tried to build his surfing around that, and then, you know, the air side of it came after, really. And I think that's kind of the right way around. And you know, touching on what you're asking about, whether it's rail game or airs, I think if you can do airs, do them as much as you can, because the only way you learn is by throwing yourself at them. And you know, like Lucas does, he'll realize in the air why, and you start to, you know, it's by doing it a lot that you start to get better. So always do it, but you got to like combine your rail surfing to get there. And I think that's what Lucas really wants to focus on. You watch John or anyone like that surf, the flow and the combination of maneuvers they do before they get to a big full rotation at the end is what's impressive, and what it sets everyone else apart. So he understands that, and is very critical on his rail surfing too. He's critical on himself, to the point where I'm like, mate, you know, that was sick. He's like, nah, I didn't think it was very, you know, didn't like it. Or I was like, oh, you just did it for, I've never done that before. I thought that was sick, you know. And that's kind of the way the conversation goes sometimes. But I suppose you've got to have that kind of self-criticism to get better, haven't you? And I'm always like, stop being so tough on yourself. But yeah.
Are we ever going to see Ben Skinner do a full rotation on a longboard?
I tried a few times and broke a few boards. But the answer is probably no. But I definitely, yeah, I love sort of performance longboarding too, and I'm definitely going to do more of it this year when the waves allow. I'm always going to step on a performance longboard and love doing a big turn on a longboard. I don't think there's much close to it.
What's the future that you two have got planned out, or your family's got planned out for him? Because obviously he's nearing an age now where it can either become a serious profession for him, because didn't he pick up a sponsorship with Rip Curl as well?
Yeah, sponsored by Rip Curl, Dry Robe, FCS, Hydro Flask is supporting him, and obviously Firewire and Skindog Surfboards, and Ocean Mountain Explorers, travel company, which have been taking him on. They took us to a boat trip to the Maldives, and all video coaching and analysis and stuff. So the plan is to do that again this year. And yeah, I mean, look, he's again super lucky to have support of some of the companies that are willing to at the moment. So, you know, that's a big up to them, and every other sponsor that's supporting the surfers at the moment, because it's easy to kind of back out of it. But all the companies are doing pretty well, and I think it's, you know, it should reflect hopefully on the industry in the future. Keep supporting the kids, and that's what they're doing. They're supporting them, and I can only say thanks for that. And that's what makes the world go round. So,
is your daughter going to follow in the footsteps of Lucas and yourself, or is she just enjoying her surfing and she's got her own thing going on?
She loves. I've just made her a new shortboard because she wants to start. You know, she wants to start shortboarding, but she genuinely just loves going surfing. Really, she's a little bit more scared though. Like, she went surfing with Michelle, her mum, about, like, I don't know, just before Chris, a few months ago, and a seal popped up in the lineup, and she absolutely freaked. And I wasn't there, but like Lila, you know, it's like someone who was trying to drown her or something. She was screaming her head off, and it really freaked her out. So she won't go to that beach again. But she really loves just going and surfing. She loves surfing so much, but it's been really cold, and just as she's getting into it, really winter kind of struck pretty hard. But yeah, we've made her a little shortboard, and I'd like to think so. She skateboards so well. She's such a good little skater, and she's flying around bowls, doing airs over hips. She's only 10. She's flying. So she's definitely got potential to surf good, but and she's doing great. She's already doing great. She's got a great little style, and she's just starting to enjoy it. So this summer is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of time in the water, I imagine.
Did they just take that up on their own? Because I know my daughter, for instance, because I've got an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old boy, and I can't. I say make's not the word. I don't really want to force them into doing anything, because you know what it's like, and you hear the horror stories of parents, pushy parents, is that you force them into doing something. Like my wife, for instance, she was a swimmer when she was younger, but pushed more, aggressively encouraged to swim. She hates it now. And sometimes, you know, you kind of got to be careful with that. And what I'm trying to do, because she does jiu-jitsu and she enjoys surfing in the summer. She gets cold really, really quick because she's like a rake. You know, I'm hoping that they're both going to get into it, because I'd love to do like some boat trips and stuff with them older. That's kind of like the pipe dream. Yeah, yeah.
Well, look, you know, a bit of advice really for the young ones surfing is just get them in a winter suit, even in the summer. I mean, just, you know, no kid likes being cold. So, you know, even with Lucas, when we first started taking him, I would get him in his wetsuit at home, fully suited and booted. And even in the winter, if any kind of cold, just stick the gloves on or stick the boots on, whatever, you know. Take that that harshness away from them, and just take him down to the beach, throw him in the water. He'd probably have one wave, and he'd be like, "Right, I want to go home now." And I'd be like, "Oh!" And the first couple of times was, you know, you're going, "Oh, come on, one more." He's like, "No, I'm done. I want to go home." So I'd get him back in the van, take him home, and the next time we go down, he'd have 2 or 3 waves, and then 5 or 6 waves, and then, you know, as soon as he's done, it's up to him. Or now I can't get him out of the water, you know, at all, till it's dark and I'm shouting it on the shoreline.
Yeah, you bought yourself a big loud hailer that you got in the back of your van. You're like,
yeah. Well, he actually said the other day, "Dad, I'll get these watches, and then you can call me on the watch." And I was like, "Yeah, but no." I'm like, you just turn around when you hear me whistle and come in when you should.
Exactly. You see me going in, you come in too.
Yeah. He knows when I'm whistling him. He just like pretends he's not looking.
Yeah, I thought it was someone else.
Yeah. I thought, no, I didn't hear you at all. I could see him going like this, you know.
I got a couple of questions from a few people that I've asked, and one of them was for you, was what is one of the, or some of the heaviest locations that you've ever surfed in?
You know, there's lots of definitions of heavy, I think. I've surfed some pretty big waves in Ireland. That's probably been, some of the heaviest situations, where surf-wise, definitely, that I've been in. But, you know, even some of the spots you don't almost expect it sometimes, you know. Some of the slabs that are in Scotland, I've had some scary experiences there, and being sucked into sort of what they call like sinkholes almost, which there's a story about that on Wavelength that came out about a month and a half ago, I think, on Reef Stories. But it's, one of those unexpected kind of stuck on a slab, worried about getting smashed on the reef, and ended up getting sucked down into like a gully under the rocks and sucked through a cave kind of thing.
Oh, really?
Pretty horrendous. So, you know, there's been some unexpected heavy situations, but the situations you tend to go in that are real scary, like in some of the bigger waves I've tow surfed in Ireland and stuff, you're so prepared, and you know, you got your jet ski and you know what you're doing, and you got a bit of a safety team, and it's the unexpected kind of heavy moments that catch you out.
Before I was married, I used to travel to Indonesia quite a lot. Whenever I was on leave periods, I'd be out there. Even one of the places I surfed at quite regularly, just because it wasn't really that crowded, was Dreamlands. And like you were saying, they've got like those little sinkholes, which is more like when the water's being drawn back out to the sea, it creates that, it creates like that zero gravity effect, doesn't it? and you always see those boils, but also that's sometimes where the peak is going to break as well. And I sat there a few times, and I didn't to the extent that you did, but it pulls you down to like waist head high, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? And then I'm like, that I ain't sitting there because I'm going down. I can imagine that was scary as hell doing that.
Well, that's exactly what you said. Like there was like 3 waves previous to the one that actually sucked me down there, and it's just air, just like, and all the water, comes up and then just drains off the reef down this one part. So yeah, it was pretty hectic. And but yeah, surfing. I've surfed Cribber quite a few times. That's pretty. I really enjoy surfing out there, to be honest. And as much as it's not like the most gnarly wave in the world, it's pretty scary because you're in front of the headland and you get sucked into the headland out there. There's parts of Cribber that are like, yeah, they're quite daunting, And so yeah, full respect to the boys the other day for charging out there. It was good to see. It made me want to get back on the horse really and get back out there. Maybe me and Lucas might have a look next time.
Oh, mate, he's going to turn into the next British Kai Lenny. He's going to start doing all sorts of stuff, backflips off like 50 footers.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Kai Lenny's a bit of a freak, isn't he? I mean, there's not too many people like him in the world. But yeah, what a legend.
One of the other questions I got asked was if there's one location outside of the UK you'd like to live, where would that be?
So I think, I really love California. It's like, I love the way of life there. I love the waves. I love the climate. It's pretty amazing. Parts of Australia are stunning as well. But to live, California is I think it's a nice sort of pace of life. Cornwall's the best as far as I'm concerned. I love living here. But California or potentially parts of Portugal as well. Definitely, I could see myself down there in a nice little quiet area. It's pretty beautiful there too.
Yeah, I've not had the luxury of surfing the California area. I went when I was really, really young, but it was round about when I was like between 13 and 15. I only started surfing when I was 14, so I didn't have the luxury of having a surfboard to do anything around there.
Yeah.
I went to all the classic tourist destinations,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
My mum and dad weren't going to just let me, just go in the water, it's fine. Okay, so the next question is, what are your favorite types of wave, or where is your favorite type of wave?
So, yeah, I love riding barrels on my longboard. That's kind of just what I get the most out of, like adrenaline wise, challenge wise, and just feeling, and like even like being in a barrel on a longboard is just, I love it so much. So for me, riding some slabs, potentially some Scottish Irish slabs, and on my slab hunter. That's my go-to.
Do you know what you don't really see? You see a lot of video edits and footage of people surfing shortboards, surfing barrels, but you don't really see that many longboarding barrels, do you?
Not a lot, but you'd be surprised. I think if you look for it, they're there. I mean, back in the day, they used to have the Puerto Rico event there, the Oxbow Soul and Style, and people like Bo Young, Dwayne DeSoto, Bonga Perkins. Some of the footage and stuff that you see of Bonga Perkins at Backdoor and at Pipe back in the day was some of the things that made me want a longboard. And again, that was my era. Like Bonga was the man to me. He was like, absolute, like all round hell man. And his style and approach is just like pretty unique. And so, I mean, I love that side of it. But I have to be honest, I've really, really loving riding my traditional board, the cherry picker, and that's actually kind of my go-to board when the waves are nice and fun and peeling. Then hanging 10 is on that board is pretty special as well. So they're my two. Am I allowed to? Yeah, I'm allowed to.
You can have as many as you want, mate.
I'd be happy with that if that was my days. Yeah.
Beautiful. Where do you see the future of British longboarding going? And to go one step above that, where do you see the WSL longboarding tour going?
All right. Well, British longboarding is a tough one because, as a lot of the events have, BLU's faded and been a lot, harder to run. financially, sponsorship, and all those sort of things. Minnow Green's just been a hero really for British longboarding, and like really him and the BLU have given all of us a platform to kind of even get where we are now. And back when I was started, it was, I was in finals with like Lee Ryan, Chris Griffiths, Sam Bleakley, and all of them went and did world events. And when I started doing world events, I was with those guys. And so we had a British longboard scene and a tour and a crew that went to these events. That really isn't there at the moment. And to be honest, even before COVID, the longboarding, the longboard contest just kind of weren't as many people as normally. So, but I have to say, I'm seeing a lot of young longboarders coming through at the moment. And I think because of the way longboarding's gone back to traditional style, it's going to grow again as well, because, more people are interested in that style of longboarding at the moment. And potentially that's what the BLU needed too, was that kind of full freshen up. But we'll see when it comes back, and I'm going to support it. And I hope that, all you young longboarders out there, if you do listen to this and, or you are listening, then just keep going. It's all about having fun. And if you're having fun, you're going to surf well and do well, and competing should be fun. And if you're having fun in a contest, you got every chance of winning. And if you win, competing's great if you're doing really well. And if you're not, it sucks. But being part of it is what it's about in the first place, So yeah, come along to the BLUs and have fun.
So the counter to that is, where do you see the WSL longboard tour going?
As we touched on before, I think it's taken a full complete spin really compared to 3 years ago, and I think it's great. I would like to see it it's going to balance back out a little bit at some point, and I've always liked the idea of kind of having, almost like a performance longboard event. The Relic kind of touched on it quite a lot, really, where performance longboarding is very different to kind of the traditional criteria. So mixing the two is very difficult. So you're going to have that divide always in longboarding, basically. You're always going to have that divide, and someone's going to be unhappy at the end of it. So it'd be cool to somehow balance that out in the future. I don't think it's possible, but having the kind of king of the longboard, performance and traditional, I thought was a great concept. But the way it's going and with the WSL, I think just getting to better destinations, that's what's like been the biggest thing about what the WSL have done for me anyway in the last year or so, is that, we had 6 years in China, Hainan. All right, it's, you wonder why people weren't tuning in. It's like you go to the same destination. It's like, it's a great, it's fun wave, but it's not the best wave in the world. Definitely not the best longboard wave in the world. And it becomes boring and monotonous, not just for people watching, but for the people that are in the events. And I think what they've done, moving it to potentially Malibu, New York, the Ranch, giving us great waves and proper destinations that people are going to want to tune into because it's an iconic, longboard spot, i.e. Malibu. I think that's really the key spot. Yeah, it's what it's about. And I think the fact that we've got to the Ranch, that's giving longboarding a little bit of like okay, you're good enough to be here. And I think that's a good thing as well. And just giving us the opportunities. For me, I see it as a competitor, I see it as an opportunity. And so what we're getting at the moment, I'd be stoked with. Whether we get there or not is another question. It's never going to be easy to please everybody in a sport of longboard, So you kind of got to, if you want to compete, you've got to adapt and just go with the times, and hopefully that's good enough. And if you don't enjoy it, then probably shouldn't be there.
That's the problem with a sport with so many variables. It's not like you playing football or rugby where it's a controlled environment. You've got a pitch. The only thing you've got to worry about maybe a little bit is wind.
Yeah.
There's so many variables, tide, wind, let's call it all the science that goes behind it. I talked about this before on another podcast, where you're only going to have a certain amount of time booked out for that location, for that event, whether it's a 2-week window. And if the swell doesn't fill in that window, well, they've got to run that event anyway. I think a little bit of pre-knowledge and booking those locations and knowing when the best swell is going to be and hoping for it is the best way forward. And putting those people, like you just said, in the best waves, people are going to tune into that 100%
Yeah.
because, I love it. I love watching surfing to bits. I'm a little bit of a pest with it, if I'm perfectly honest. It's it's all over the place. It's even in me picture. But I just hate. I've tried to watch some of the Aussie events that they run, like in Newcastle,
Yeah.
when it's just like there's still some decent waves coming through, but it's choppy and it's windy, and I'm just like, that's the sort of stuff that you've kind of
Yeah.
got to play with, but it's
You're going to be
difficult.
watching it because you want to support somebody that's in it, and I think essentially when events are like that, even pipe, right? When pipe's on and it's rubbish, it's not going to be fun to watch. So it doesn't matter where it is, it's the quality of the waves. And sometimes, the nature of our sport is you're not always going to get pumping waves, but you want to support people involved. And I think it's amazing, actually, when I have competed in the past, although there's not all the world watching the WSL Longboard event, the country gets behind me when I'm there, and I feel that, and it's really amazing. And yeah, that's cool no matter what. And I think so. What I'm trying to say is, if you want to support somebody, you're going to watch it, whatever, aren't you? And so that's cool. And if you love surfing, you watch the shitty events with the shitty waves. And sometimes I must say I end up doing that, but you can't beat pumping pipeline or even the big wave Jaws event. I thought was pretty amazing, but it's all kind of got its like, well, the big wave surfing, you sit there and don't watch a wave for a lot of the time. So there's all these things that you kind of, you just can't please everyone. So, I try and enjoy it and watch it and enjoy what I can out of it, really.
Haters are going to hate, aren't they?
They totally are, yeah. No matter what, yeah. And you're always going to get them. So, but even just for us to have surfing in our screens at home to watch is pretty nuts. If you think how we 25 years ago when I was there's none of that going on. So things have come a long way in that sense, and I think we're spoiled these days and don't realise how lucky we are.
Oh, 100%. And again, I've had a few of these conversations before where, you've got your phone at your touch, and all it takes is a couple of swipes and taps, and you've got an event going on you can watch on your phone, or the next
Anyway,
best, like the Tom Curran edit that just came out, Free Scrubber. You know what I mean? Like, when would that ever happen? You'd have to wait for the Aussies to do a film premiere, and then or the Americans to do a film premiere, and then about a year later it'd come out on VHS,
yeah,
like that, and then it'd still be crap quality, but you'd
yeah,
still spend 30 quid on it or something, wouldn't you?
totally, and watch it a few times,
Yeah.
and watch it over and over again, actually. But yeah, we are spoiled. But I think I love seeing all kind of the content that comes through. The girls surfing right now, like Erin Brooks, and the level of some of the kids around the world at the moment is pretty insane. And I love seeing that. I think it's amazing. So yeah, surf geeks, basically. That's what we are.
100%, and it's a bit naughty
Unfortunately.
sometimes.
Yeah.
What have you got coming up at the moment? You were talking a little bit about you're working on some designs. Have you got anything that you can talk about that's going to be released in any time soon?
Well, I've been working on a mid twin, basically, like a 7.2 twin fin. I've been surfing that a lot, and with pintail channel bottom, kind of, again, Torren Martin inspired. I just loved the way that he flowed and surfed on those boards, and I've always ridden twin fins. Probably been my kind of go-to shortboard forever, really, since I was about 15. Chops the Cells got me riding one, and I never really looked back. In fact, people always used to take piss out of me for riding it, and now I see my mates riding them, and I'm like, and he's like, well, I didn't see it back then. So yeah, they are really kind of, I love twinnies, and that's something that I've got a fin design that I'm working with a company called Flying Diamonds, which is like a twin fin design. Yeah, I've been working on this fin for like 3 or 4 years and been using it in my twin fins and trying to develop new boards to ride with it. But basically, has been the kind of aim for that, and definitely got some new longboards up my sleeve that I can't really tell you too much about at the moment, but I'm pretty excited about one particular design that I've got coming out in the future. Not sure when, not sure how, but it's coming. It is ready, and you know, I have been working on this for probably 2 years already. So a lot of my designs I do take a lot of time over, because you know, we make 3 or 4 or 5 different variations and then surf them for a bit and then go again if you need to. But this one in particular has been kind of, been tweaking quite a bit. Some of my designs come straight away. Cherry Picker came quite quickly. You know, saying that, it's come off kind of structures that I've had in the past, and sort of structures from other boards, and structure of designs that we've had in other boards, and kind of transferred them and changed things. So, but this one I'm pretty excited about, coming soon. And working with Thunderbolt Technologies, obviously, closely, to see what happens there. FCS2, I've got a new performance fin coming out with them in March for all my performance longboards and mid-lengths. So like my over model and everything, this fin is like the ultimate fin for, in fact, I've designed the boards around that fin. The mid-lengths, I've been started testing with that fin from the start, and the fins were developed for my performance longboards that were already existing. So yeah, pretty excited about that. And FCS2 coming out in March, 2+1, and the side fins are a unique size to anything that they have previously sold as a side fin. Nothing as big as what we're doing, but it's basically a medium shortboard side fin with a 7-inch sensor. So yeah, pretty stoked on that, and you guys will be able to get your hands on it very soon.
Sounds amazing. Can't wait to see all that stuff come out.
Yeah, lots going on, and yeah, and a single fin with flying diamonds that will be coming out soon, again developed with the Cherry Picker. So lots of exciting things, really.
Beautiful. To finish this off on, like I said before, a little bit of a quick fire round, and I love saying this quick fire round is never a quick fire round.
It's never a quick fire round.
So the first question is, and I think you've answered this already, if you could surf one fin setup on a surfboard, would it be a single fin, twin fin, thruster, quad, 2+1, bonza, or finless?
Twin.
Favorite surfer and why?
Favorite surfer and why? So difficult. Longboarder?
You can choose.
Or whoever.
Yeah.
Well, I can't. You know, John's surfing at the moment, just mind blowing. To be honest, like, I think he's an amazing kid, amazing person. Like, he's really nice and genuine. But his surfing recently is just like next level. So it's pretty hard to go past him right now. But you know, in the past, really loved Rob Machado, some of the old cats. Obviously, Kelly Slater. You know, my era again. Everyone's era, isn't he? Pretty much. But yeah, there you go. That wasn't really one, but
you see that turn that John did at sunset on that Vans triple count? That was amazing, right?
Just mind blowing. Just his approach to it is like so unique.
The first surf film you ever watched
was Y Pro 84 or something like that. It was like my dad had a VHS of an Hawaiian contest in 84 or something like that, and it was like, yeah, the Derek and Michael Ho and Lade Beachley, and yeah, it was old crew. But then it was Green Iguana, and that's been like, the Green Iguana was my my childhood movie for sure.
The last surf film you have watched?
The last surf film I've watched was it was John's recent movie, actually. I can't remember what it's called though. Sorry.
I can't remember either.
I can't either. It's Tokyo Rising.
That's the one, yeah, the one on Amazon.
Yeah, which was pretty cool. That was pretty inspiring, and that was really good to watch. It's about it, really. This is the thing, like I said, you know, we see so much day to day. They all kind of blend into one, and we end up seeing it eventually. But some of those I tend to watch. Geordie's movie is pretty sick. And I actually watched a documentary on Chris Burtish the other day, and that was pretty cool too, on Red Bull TV. And that was about him sort of pioneering, going to surfing Jaws, first one to like paddle Jaws on his own, He comes to Newquay and surfs Cribber in it, and he surfed one of the biggest days at Cribber. He obviously he paddled across the Atlantic. He's like pretty nuts, dude. But it's quite a cool story because it was all about him basically getting an invite into the Eddy, and then he eventually gets one and wins it. So from a childhood dream to something that, and it's a pretty, like, I don't think it's a huge budget documentary, but it was pretty cool, worth a watch.
There's so many characters like that within surfing itself. I guess you could say in all sports really, but especially our chosen one, or should I say sport stroke lifestyle.
Yeah.
There are so many characters like that what we were talking about before, we haven't got a platform and people wouldn't necessarily know about them. But, they do great feats like that, like paddling the Atlantic. I mean, that is just insane to even think about personally.
Isn't it? Ridiculous. My mum crossed the Atlantic. She sailed across the Atlantic about 4 years ago.
Oh, really?
And she's mad. Her and her husband did. And she trained, got all her tickets, and then they went. But they hit a big storm about 2 days in, snapped one of the main masts, and they ended up making it, but it was pretty sketchy. So it scared the crap out of them, to be honest. And they ended up then sailing to somewhere else to go get the boat fixed. And on the way there, they hit another huge storm, and they ended up selling the boat and coming home. But they crossed the Atlantic, so that's pretty cool.
That's the main point of it, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's on like broken bits of boat, they're just paddling along.
They never want to go on a boat ever again, but
exactly.
They still did it. So yeah.
That's cool. And the last question is your dream surf trip.
Oh, my whole family in the Maldives somewhere, please.
Mate, do you know what? That's everyone's answer. A Maldives trip.
with the family, I mean, can't really ask for much more than that.
No, it's classic.
I was lucky enough, actually. They had the WSL World Longboard Tour at Pasta Point. Can't remember when now, but quite a long time ago. Lucas would have been like 3 or 4. And my stepdaughter Lucy, she would have been like 9 or 10. And we went and I took them all with me when I was competing, and it was just like the best thing ever. We had the best time. Yeah.
Amazing. Ben Skinner, thanks for joining me on the podcast, and some amazing stories there, mate. So thank you.
Well, thanks for having me, and I hope I haven't bored you all to death. And thanks again, Adz. Really appreciate it.
That was cool talking to you, man.
You too.
Catch you later.
Yo.
And that's it. If you're enjoying the podcast, please like, share, and subscribe on your podcast provider, and also follow the Grumpy Surfer on Instagram. Thanks for listening.